the governance system, reforms that will serve the interest of the Zambians and not depend on the goodwill or indeed how one is, the kindness of a person for certain things to be done. I do recall at some point he referred to himself to say, there are certain things I couldn't do as president because I was properly raised. So that kind of revealed a systemic problem that we may have in our governance system, that certain positions depend on the goodness of a person, such that if you are going to put a person who has no morals whatsoever, no manners whatsoever, or nothing to stop them, they'll be able to do anything that they would want in those positions, abuse their power, misuse their power, or indeed inflict pain on people using the position that they have and not using the position to serve.
How did his passing impact you personally?
I must say it was unexpected. He shouldn't have gone in the manner that he did. He had so much soul. He had so much life. There was so much he could have done for this country, and there was so much potential as to what exactly could have been achieved. We lost a wealth of knowledge, experience, a wealth of wisdom. We lost a friend. I remember during the memorial that we had, I did tell a story about how that at some point we sat and we were playing a game, 30 seconds game. And you know, when you're playing 30 seconds, there are different words that appear on cards, and you have to describe the word to a person. And at that particular time, I partnered with him, and Mr. Msukwa partnered with the former First Lady. So we're playing this game, and he's looking at a card, and he's trying to describe hope to me. And he says, it's related to faith. It's something, another word that is seemingly similar to faith. I couldn't get it then. He said something that you don't lose, something that you should not lose as a person. I felt that the 30 seconds passed, and when he turned the card, the word was hope. And he was one person that was so full of hope, and just the description to say something that you don't lose, the idea of not losing hope. I would say he was a hopeful person. He was a person that was so full of hope, and never lost it. Never lost hope. And that is something that we should never lose. I've learned that from him. There is hope for this country. There is hope for everyone out there. There is hope that we will improve our judiciary. There is hope that we will improve the executive. There is hope that we can improve the civil service. There is hope that we can restructure our economy to respond to the needs of the people. There is hope that we can restructure the agricultural sector, enhance agriculture to respond to the needs of the country. There is hope that we can get back on the right track towards development, if only we could unite and do things as we ought to. And one other thing that he really emphasized was the question of unity. You may have noticed that once he came back into politics, he talked to each and every opposition politician. He met different members of different political parties that saw UKA being born. And when UKA was born, it was vibrant, it was growing. It was, everyone gravitated towards UKA. When there were those issues within UKA that really disturbed its very fabric, and Tonse was born, and he moved to Tonse, you could see that everyone was in Tonse. He was like a magnet that people would follow. And his emphasis at all times, even when there was that seeming misunderstanding with UKA, was that let's bring Tonse, let's bring UKA together. Let's unite the opposition political party, because we only have one country and we can't put up selfish ambitions in front. And he did at more than one time say, let us come together, let's not deal with the issues of leadership or who's going to stand. I'm willing to play the role of a birth attendant that will transfer power to the new generation, that will transfer power to someone who will be much more accountable to the people. Those were some of the conversations that would have. Those are the conversations that would be in my hearing, and those are the truths that he believed in. Hope and unity for Mother Zambia, and he should be remembered for that.
Now, yesterday you filed in your papers to be among other PF presidential aspirants ahead of the party's convention at the end of this month. What prompted you to contest for presidency of the Patriotic Front?
There had been multiple calls for my participation in the system of in the politics of the party, and as well as the politics of the country. And obviously the vehicle that you get in to participate in the politics of the country is a political party if you don't want to go independent. And the numerous calls, the consultations that I've made, being dedicated to prayer, my heart is at peace that this is the right decision and this is the right course. And as a matter of fact, I would encourage Zambians to take part in politics. It is a noble call for noble people. It is not a dirty game. Persons in politics may be dirty, but politics itself is not dirty. Politics is about responding to issues of bread and butter. Politics is about the welfare of humanity. Politics is about improving the environment in which we exist. Politics is about coming up with policies that enhance or improve the well-being of humans. Politics is about uplifting those that are in the lower levels of society and giving them a chance to believe again that they can have a life that is improved, that they can live a life that is decent. Politics is about human decency, and that is what should be the aspiration of any person. So it may not come out of desire, but it can be out of duty as well to improve the decency of humanity.
Some have criticized your decision to run the president of the Patriotic Front because you were the lawyer to the family. The body of the late president the former president rather, hasn't been buried yet. What's your response to those people that are criticizing your decision to take part in this?
I'd like to respond to a credible debate, a debate on issues that deal with substance, as it were. There is nothing that precludes a person who is a lawyer to a deceased person or indeed their family from participating in politics. There's nothing that precludes them. And the issue of there being no burial does not in any way mean that one can't participate. As a matter of fact, the funeral is for the nation, the funeral is for the party. You might as well say that no one in the party should participate because we haven't buried yet, and that wouldn't make sense. But then again, what is at stake is the very heart and soul of the country, and the decency of it, and the decency of participating in the politics for purposes of improving the decency of humanity is something that even a deceased person, even the family of the deceased, even any other person within the republic, within the party, would aspire for, would encourage. It's not something that makes it indecent. It's not an indecent aspiration, as it were. But there are attempts to make it seem indecent by detractors and detractors only. When it comes to arguing the merits or demerits of so doing, There is no content whatsoever. The issue is, do we as a nation, despite the death of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, want to improve our lives? Do we have options as to how best the lives and decency of humanity can be improved? Do we have clean water for those people out there? Do we have an environment that favors everyone and not a tribal cabal or a section of society? Is that what we have? What are we aspiring for? If the person who is able to make those changes is one who's mourning, why not?
How does the family feel about this decision?
Well, even before making that decision, of course, the decent thing is to consult, and obviously the consultations were made, and they do acknowledge that I have the right, or any person has the right, to participate in the politics of the country, and obviously it's something that they encourage, to say, listen, you have been a politician all along, you can't stop now being a politician. You related with ECL, not just as a lawyer, but also as a politician. I'm a member of the Central Committee of the Patriotic Front Party. I'm the Deputy Chairperson Legal in the Patriotic Front Party, and I cannot be excluded from the politics of the party because I am a member of the party.
Do you cease being the lawyer of the family and a representative?
Of course, I don't cease to be a lawyer of the family. I don't cease to be a spokesperson because there's no conflict whatsoever. There's absolutely no conflict.
So what happens now? You're here and there's a situation there. How is this being coordinated?
My role is spokesperson. I don't make decisions for and on behalf of the family. If there is an issue that arises and I'm communicated to, I will give the position of the family. That's my absolute role. But the detractors think I have an influence over what the family decides. That is not the role of a spokesperson. You are in this industry and you know what the role of a spokesperson is. Any decent person who is not up to no good or spewing propaganda would know what the role of a spokesperson is. And I have not done anything indecent that disgraces the whole process. And I do not intend to do anything that is indecent and disgraces the whole process. If the family is of the view that I'm incapable of carrying out that particular role because of this particular role that I'm playing, they would say so. And that was indicated, and they are comfortable with my playing this particular role. And it's not a role, it's a solemn role that I am happy to undertake, to serve my former president, to serve the family, to serve his will. In any event, the will of the deceased can be carried out. And I know as a lawyer what the will of a deceased person is and how that it ought to be carried out. It doesn't matter whether the person who has been given that responsibility to carry it out is a drunk or anything. You can say, okay, you are a drunk, therefore, notwithstanding that you have been chosen to be the person to carry out what this person was, you can't. It doesn't work that way. Are you or are we in this particular process going to respect the will of the family or the will of the deceased? That is what is decent in that particular case.
Well, you've been the spokesperson and you've described your role there.
Yes, please.
A lot of people have attached you to that situation. So do you feel conflicted in any way?
No, I don't feel conflicted in any way because those that have done so are just merely being mischievous. Simply that. And I don't think I would respond to someone who's being mischievous. If it's being used as a tool for slander, I don't respond to slander. Many people have said things against me, but I don't respond to slander because I have known over time that slander is a tool for fools, as my father told me, meaning that when people run out of issues or substance to debate, they resort to slander. They'll call you names, they'll call you anything. But the moment you respond, then you accept that. So you're not what people call you, you're what you respond to. I don't respond to propaganda. I respond to what I am, and I know who I am. Yeah.
Okay. We have Mr. Makebi Zulu with us. He is a Patriotic Front presidential aspirant. He joins us here on the hot seat on Hot 87.7. My name is Chisha Mwambe. I am your host. Now, throughout our discussion, you've alluded to the fact that you're ready to provide solutions for Zambia. Why are you the right man to lead this country forward?
If you've listened to me very carefully, the I aspect of dealing with issues relating to the country has never been part of my vocabulary. I think this is something that we need to do together. It is something that we need to get into together. It is for that reason that my advocacy has been for unity. Once we unite, we are able to sit down and come up with solutions for the country. And those solutions include an array of issues. We have energy problems that we need to resolve. And it is not I to resolve those energy problems. It is we who must resolve those energy issues. The problem that we have right now is that persons that hold the reins of power put themselves out to the public as the alpha and omega of solutions. Even things that could not be fixed, they purported they could fix those things. But if you are going to have a group, a committee, a selection of people that are going to sit down together, put their heads together for purposes of resolving particular issues, you put your ideas on the table, interrogate those ideas as to how best they can respond to the needs of the people.
Do you have any ideas now?
Certainly.
Or you're waiting
certainly.
for this committee to
Certainly those ideas are there.
So let's zero in into those.
Let's zero in into those
let's
ideas.
Talk about specific policies and initiatives
Certainly.
you would implement. We know Zambia has an energy crisis.
Yes.
How would you end this energy crisis? The
All right.
load shedding that Zambians are dealing with on a daily.
Okay. So I'm of this view that if it's not broken, don't fix it. The energy crisis that we are having is as a result of this idea of successive governments wanting to do away with anything that the previous government implemented. In the energy sector, there are quite a number of projects that the Patriotic Front Party had. We had project for the Lusiwasi Dam. This Lusiwasi Dam was supposed to be hydro electric power for Central and Mchinga province. So the idea was, how are we going to have solutions for power in provinces? So Lusiwasi was supposed to deal with issues of power in Central and Mchinga province. Iteji Power Generation Power Plant in Southern Province was meant to be supplying Southern, Western, and parts of Central Province. Katete Wind Power Project, which was to be based in Eastern Province. This is a wind energy project that was meant to supply power for Eastern Province alone. We had the Chongwe Nuclear Power Plant project that was to be implemented, and I talk about this from time to time. It was a nuclear energy meant to supply power for Lusaka Province and the national grid. We had set up a project for the Kabombo Power Plant. This was meant for Northwestern Province only. Then we had the Luapula Power Project. This power project was meant to supply Luapula and Northern Provinces only. Then we had the Shiwa Hydropower Upgrade. That was meant for Mchinga and was meant to enhance hydropower meant for Mchinga Province. So we had all these projects that were lined up. What did the UPND do? They abandoned most of these projects. I talk about the nuclear project. We trained about 100 graduates that were to help in implementation of this. We were offered help by the Russians to deal with this particular issue. But what did UPND do? The moment they got into power, they got rid of that. Where are the students that we trained? They have gone to look for places where there's employment, where they could be useful. But we trained those people at great expense. So that is in the power sector. If we are able to say, okay, what solutions do we have for each and every province in this country? What resource do we have in each and every province, which I have just stated here? If we were to implement this and implement it correctly, we would have power. So we simply get back to this. If it's not broken, don't fix it. There's nothing to fix if it's not broken. Get these projects, implement them. They are not projects for a political party. They are projects for a country. And this would have responded to the energy issues that we are having. Some are short-term, some are long-term. But in the end, it works out for the good of the Zambians. Now, look, even with this shortage of power, the government keeps telling us dates when we'll have no load shedding, dates when we'll have no load shedding. When that date comes, instead of a reduced load shedding, we are having an increased load shedding. The time when we had 4 hours of load shedding, the president now, when he was in opposition, looked at it as a leadership problem. 4 hours of load shedding was considered a leadership problem. Now we have 21 hours of load shedding. What do you call that?
Do you cut the UPND some slack because we had a drought, a devastating drought, the worst in the history of the country? Isn't that a point where you could understand why this crisis came about in the first place?
I'm sure every listener out there, the moment you said we had a drought, remembers what the current president said. He said, in Dubai, no drop of rain falls, and yet they have power 24/7, and said it was lack of leadership. That's what he said. Now, you say there was a drought. This drought that you're talking about, you just recorded a bumper harvest of maize. How do you have a bumper harvest in a season where you have a drought? There was no drought. We had the rains. It is the idea.
But the drought was there.
The drought was there. The drought was there.
Denying reality.
Even during the Patriotic Front Party, there was a drought. Did we have this sort of power shortage? We didn't have this power, this sort of.
And when
power
the Patriotic
shortage.
Front were in power, they also said climate change. Which
Yes,
also
we said climate change,
about a drought.
and we acknowledge that it was climate change.
So why not acknowledge what the UPND is saying if
Of
the
course,
Patriotic Front said
we
the same
are
thing?
we are acknowledging that there was a drought, and it must be acknowledged that there was a drought. Now the issue is, having abandoned these projects, how were they, even assuming that it did rain, how were they going to deal with this issue when most of our power is exported? We have ZESCO buying power at a very high cost, reselling it to companies at a low cost, which companies export that power or resell that power. Why do we have that? Why do we have that? Why are we robbing the government, or robbing ZESCO of its income by forcing ZESCO to sell power to non-companies that are attached to those that are serving in government at a low cost for purposes of selling it at a profit that only ends up in private hands? Why are we doing that? Why have we continued?
Who are those known government officials that you're referring to?
I dare not delve into that, because I do not want our discourse to be based on personalities. I would want it to be based on
But then
solutions.
if you bring it to the table,
Yes,
then
I brought it to the
you
table.
have to address it.
I brought it to the table, and having brought it to the table, I'm saying that this is what's going on. We have companies that are dealing with ZESCO, that are connected to those that are in the echelons of power, buying power from ZESCO, power from ZESCO, and selling to across borders, selling to the mines at a profit. Why can't ZESCO be the one to sell at a profit? Why can't ZESCO be the one to export? Why isn't it that way? So because of the so-called agreements for companies that are located here in Zambia, for purposes of selling power outside Zambia at a profit, we're saying the people in Chawama should not go welding. That lady with the saloon in Mandevu should close the saloon and only open from 03 to 04. Is that what should be going on?
How would you
Certainly
make ZESCO viable? Because you know, their economic fundamentals of ZESCO? How would it be viable without them being able to sell power?
Firstly,
How does that work?
Firstly, why have we abandoned these projects? If ZESCO is about power, give them power. Give them the ability to generate power. You don't take away the ability to generate power by abandoning the projects that will enable them to generate power. Then the little power that is there, you, in pursuit of capital, you bring in companies that are going to defraud ZESCO, essentially. Why is ZESCO being defrauded when that power can be sold by ZESCO itself at a profit? Why shouldn't we do that?
So
why have we prioritized
ZESCO selling power?
ZESCO is selling power. ZESCO is selling power to you. ZESCO is selling power to this. I
mean externally.
Externally, ZESCO would sell and would only allow them to sell the surplus. That is what should be there. That is what should be there. But then the solutions that the Patriotic Front Party had started working on, why have they been abandoned? We are where we are because the Patriotic Front Party chose to raise the generation capacity that we had. It is not what we found. When UPND came, the only thing that they continued with was Kafue-Loa, which project had already been started by the Patriotic Front. The rest of the projects were abandoned. This nuclear project was going to be a game changer because this is not dependent on rains. It is not dependent on the climate. So the song of climate change was being addressed by the Patriotic Front Party by coming up with a nuclear solution for purposes of power generation.
What about all
power
the debt
industry
that was left behind on ZESCO?
Well,
the Patriotic Front?
Okay, so what was the debt gotten for? The debt was gotten for purposes of improving the power generation capacity. That's what it was gotten for. What has the debt that UPND got been used for? There's nothing they can point to. But we're able to point to the Swasi project. We're able to point to Itej project. We're able to point to Kafue-Loa project. We are able to show where the money went. Where is the money that UPND is borrowing going to? Are you able to name one project that has been done by the UPND where they can say, this is what we did? We say Sontopo Wabomba. That was a slogan that we had as BF. And there are a lot of things that we can point at. Can the UPND point at anything? The president was addressing people recently and is saying, people are saying that the cost of living, we are worse than we were in 2021. We are worse than where we were in 2021. We have improved. It's better, but people are not feeling it. Father Salangeta in Chawama some time back said, listen, the issues that you're explaining to the people, drawing graphs as to how you've improved, do not matter to a person that is out there in the compound. What the person wants, Mkomboni, is ulutoshi wabwadi. Have they eaten today? That is what translates into an improved economy. So,
I'm happy you brought up the cost of living.
Yes, please.
Because Zambians want to hear from you, because they're facing high prices of essential goods. So what immediate measures would you implement to reduce the cost of living?
Yeah,
What's your plan?
See, the cost of living is affected by quite a lot of factors. So if you are going to have the power issue, for example, not being resolved, the cost of living will go up. It will go up because people have to find alternative ways of preserving what they may have. There are people those that run butcheries, they can't afford to have their meat in the fridge go bad. They'll put a genset. They'll have to go and buy fuel. If they have to go and buy fuel, it means that they'll put a markup on the cost of their beef. Now, fuel is not cheap. Fuel is expensive. So they bought expensive fuel to run their business, and therefore the cost of living goes high. So these issues that have to be resolved relating to power must be resolved with the urgency that they deserve. Once you resolve this, it will translate into economic development. This power that is being sold and the money that is coming in cannot be translated to the money that can easily be gained if that welder continues to weld for the whole day. They will stop being dependent. If that barber continues to shave the whole day, it will translate into money in the pockets of people. And that is what was meant to say, let us create an environment where business or enterprise is able to flourish. If it's dependent on energy, how best can we have energy solutions? See, the policies that we set up in government are good on paper. But like we said, the idea of abandoning what was good for purposes of saying we have come up with a new idea which is untested, which can't work, is really not taking us anywhere. And we need to go back to the drawing board. Where did we go wrong? Things that we thought were wrong were possibly not wrong, and were possibly being managed better. When we had the energy crisis, we had to, at great expense, bring a ship, dock it in Mozambique, and evacuate power into Zambia for purposes of ensuring that industry thrived. For as long as industry thrives, the cost of living in Zambia will improve. If industry fails, if industry is on its knees, the cost of living will only go up. And solutions to this are not sentiments, as the president mostly emphasizes, to say, well, sentiments, economic sentiments, because people think I'm a good person, the dollar will improve. Because people think we are good people, they like us, the cost of living is going to improve. It is for that reason that he couldn't even acknowledge, or doesn't even realize, that the cost of living is high. He doesn't realize that we are in a worse off situation than we were in 2021. He doesn't realize that fuel costs much more. He doesn't realize that minimum costs much more. He doesn't realize that carpenter costs much more. He doesn't realize that Vinkwala costs much more. He doesn't realize that the very basic things that a person lives on have gone up.
That was the same situation in the Patriotic Front, wasn't it? Because if we look at the price of minimum when you got into power and when you left, the difference is very significant, isn't it?
Not necessarily significant. You wouldn't say it was significant. That's significant.
But if expensive when you were,
if you are going to come into government and say, I am going to reduce the price of millimil from, say, 117 kwacha as it was, or 97 kwacha as it was, and you say you're going to be buying it at 50 kwacha, and the next thing people are buying it at 350 kwacha, that's a broken promise. You said you're going to bring it to 50 kwacha.
What's your promise?
We are not making any promises. We are saying, let's fix the systemic issues that we have. Let's fix the civil service. Let's fix the manner in which we make decisions. Let's fix the institutions of governance. Let's fix the base on which you are able to promise. For if the system is not working, you can't promise anything.
But
the system,
Zambians want someone who will tell them that they will deal with the issues. And the high price of mini-meal is one of the main issues that Zambians have to deal with.
And that is what we're saying.
So if you're not promising that, why should they pay attention to what you're telling them?
Let me put it this way so that you're able to understand my point. We have the Farmer Input Support Program. Okay? This Farmer Input Support Program worked very well during the Patriotic Front Party. And this saw this country produce much more maize. What has been done to the Farmer Input Support Program? Inputs that were meant for Northern Province were moved to Southern Province. Having been moved to Southern Province, it has been known over time that Southern Province, the rain pattern has been going down more and more. Now, what was moved from Northern Province was not replaced with anything, meaning that that farmer in Northern Province who should have gotten those inputs in Northern Province is in the rain belt. That farmer who should have gotten those inputs never did get those inputs, and as such did not produce as they ought to have produced. That farmer who got those inputs in Southern Province, despite having farmed, never yielded anything because it did not rain. Now, why was there a move from Southern Province, from Northern Province to Southern Province? This should not be something that should be informed by regionalism or ethnicity. It should be informed by science. Northern province being in the rain belt, what are we going to do? What are the strengths of each and every province? If the strength of southern province is, say, cattle, what are we going to do to enhance that strength? If northern province is in the rain belt, what are we going to do to improve or to get the dividends from that resource? So the Farmer Input Support Program, which has been broken, ought to get back to where it was, or indeed improved. Then we'll sort out the issues of the cost of milling meal, because it is a question of production. A question of production by taking advantage of the endowments in different provinces. Eastern province alone is capable of producing enough to feed the country for the whole year. We're told we consume about 500,000 metric tons of maize per year. We put that's what we keep in our reserves. Eastern province alone is capable of producing over 1 million tons. So what you require for your reserves, you can get from one province, and the rest of the provinces you put on the market. The idea on the part of the Patriotic Front Party was that we should be able to increase our food reserves and get them up. What did the UPND do? The moment they came and found that we had these food reserves, they sold everything. When they sold everything, they had to start importing. And because they had to start importing, they were buying much more expensive maize. And if you buy expensive maize, the Zambian can only buy the milling meal at a much more expensive price. The American embassy did tell us that they gave us money to buy maize. And we purported to buy maize in Tanzania, and that maize hadn't been delivered. Even then, that maize was not even bought at the price at which it was being sold at. It was bought at a higher price. Disclosing issues of corruption in issues of bread and butter, issues of bringing food to the table of Zambians. What does that tell us? It tells us that ordinary Zambian is the one that is paying for the corruption of that government official, is the one that's paying for that for the indecision or bad decisions of government. So we are where we are because of bad decisions. That's the reason I'm saying you don't even need to promise anything. We have this resource which is subject of abuse, and having been subject of abuse, it has translated into a higher cost of living on the part of the Zambians. If this Zambian government, you heard how Chushika Sanda went to, was it Chisamba, the Time Show spokesperson, and showed us grain bags and said, you see, we have a lot of maize. And the next thing, Mtolo Piri was in the National Assembly and said, we will not stop exporting maize. In fact, we encourage exportation of maize and milling meal. That's what he said. And the next thing that we're hearing is Lufuma, the Minister of Defense. No, we have received some millions of dollars to export maize to the Congo, and there is a forward payment for that maize. You have sold when your country is hungry. People are hungry because of the bad decisions that government has made, not because there was no resource whatsoever. It is about the management of the resource that is there. It is about applying some form of wisdom. Little it may be, but it will translate into a better life for the Zambians. So it's for that reason and more that we're saying the decision-making process and the policy implementation of this government have been very poor. And that's why we have to fix the systems. When we fix the system, they will be able to serve the interests of Zambians.
How do you
first.
fix those systems?
You fix those systems by being prudent in your decision-making processes. You have to be prudent in your decision-making processes. You have to listen to what the technocrats are telling you. If they tell you we are likely to have a drought in this particular year, this forecast tells us we are likely to have, what are you going to do now? Because we get to have 10-year forecasts. What are we doing in those periods when we have those forecasts? Decisions have to be made not for purposes of re-election, but for purposes of developing the country. But the moment people get into power, the next thing they leave is for the next election. And we have bubblegum or indeed popcorn activities that only serve that particular purpose or serve for the next election. We shouldn't be doing that. because we have a country to leave, a good country that we must leave behind us. We have legacy issues that we have to deal with. And if we deal with those diligently, we will have a better country to live on. So let's fix the systems of governance. When we fix the systems of governance, that will translate into beneficiation of the people. Like I said, politics is not about self-aggrandizement or self-enrichment. It's about saving humanity. It's about decency of the lives of the Zambians. And it is that decency that we should pursue as politicians. And we can only do so if we come together, share ideas, put these ideas together, and work for Zambia, not for personal enrichment or aggrandizement.
Okay, let's involve the people who are listening. Give us a call, 0974-870-877, if you have a question or a contribution for our guest. He is Mr. Makebi Zulu. He is a Patriotic Front presidential aspirant. And if you have anything to say, feel free to call us now. This is the Hot Seat here on Hot 87.7. I'm your host, Chisha Mulambe.
Pick up
headphones.
It's time
Some
for you
headphones.
to call now and get involved.
Yes, give us a call now. We'd love to hear from you, so you can give us your question or contribution. Hello, good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, my brother?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Mr. Makebi, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, you are speaking very well.
What's your name, sir?
This is the honorable Kosa.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yes,
Mamkosa.
I'm saying you are speaking very well. We want to hear from different voices. Even those who doesn't have anything to offer, like you, Makebi. We need to hear from you. My first point is, but if it is you are saying this government has failed because the president said Kutubai is a ruler and he has not fulfilled that promise. Are you not aware of the solar panels that are being put everywhere across the country? Because that is the by way of doing things when it comes to electricity. Are you not aware of that? When you talk about the Lakers, say you want to follow the Lakers, which Lakers are you talking about? Lakers, you Lakers are the right of setting for permanent individuals. You Lakers are Makata, Mamembers, Benjamin, Mamadi, Wapel, and Ram. Is Robert. What Lakers are you talking about? Maybe you can say something else. Are you talking about the Lakers of receiving other people from other regions to be recorded as citizens? Where they may be not able to speak their own language because of the politics that spread.
Mamkosa, we need you to conclude, please.
Yes, I'm concluding.
Mm-hmm.
Because these people that have not speak, all of us we are eight commanders of field. All of us are Chumbi Tamarungu, Tamena Wangutunga, if they do Mutika Mundu, Mujita Mpuri. If you bring Marungu back, what to bury him? Don't come here to start doing my politics and then the I think this is my humble conversation this morning.
Okay, thank you very much for your call there. I would say as we give our questions and contributions, we should remain respectful as we do that. 0974-870-877, what is your contribution? Maybe you could just address what Mr. Mukosa there said, throwing in the solar plants there, also touching on the legacy of the late President Lungu.
You see, Mr. Mukosa is a known caller, and the objectivity that you would expect from a person that is looking from the outside as to what exactly is going on. You would expect that if he's going to say that there's a solar project that has been put in place, that the power that is being supplied now is better than what was being supplied before that power project was put in place. He has not said that. I thought he would say that we have put up this solar power plant. We had 21 hours of load shedding. Now we only have 7 hours of load shedding. What has it translated to? You are going to go to a solar power plant, a private solar power plant, meant to save private investment and not translate into that which goes onto the grid, and you say we've improved the lives of Zambians. You don't do that. You don't do that. You don't window dress or play PR with the lives of the Zambians. What has that translated to? Is it a dummy? If Mr. Mkosa says, indeed, these are being put out there, yeah, are they dummies? Because they're not translating into anything. He should have said that I used to have this amount of power at home, now I'm having more because of these solar projects. In 2021, by the time PF left power, you would have 4 hours of load shedding, at most 6 hours of load shedding. Now you are having 21 hours of load shedding. How do you justify that? What has changed? So these are issues that we ought to be honest about, have an honest discussion about. This is a very serious issue. Industry must thrive. Industry is not thriving right now. We can't produce as much as we ought to produce, meaning we can't export as much. If we can't export as much, we can't get as much forex as we can. And that has translated into the kwacha, or not performing very well on the market. We need to be realistic in our approach to things. It is not an issue of playing partisan politics. We need to play the role of being Zambians and responding to the aspirations of Zambians. What kind of Zambia do we want? Not what kind of political party do we want? This issue he talked about of certain people couldn't speak certain languages in their offices. It is another discussion that we really ought to have. This idea of tribalism really has to be dealt with. It has to be dealt with and dealt with strictly. You can't use propaganda to run a nation. You don't use propaganda to govern, and that should come to an end.
All right, give us a call, 0974-870-877. Hello, good morning.
Hello,
Kafe wino. Shina yenu?
Ndalunda.
Wanani?
Ndalunda.
Ndalunda.
Makebi, wino.
Atulifia wino andalunda mushani kwa.
Okay. Makebi ne ukana vichinga mlela wino, and I don't have any problem. Our president, I think it's actually phoning that the Mava main president, then Bamundubile, let will be your running mate. Talking of our Abashandat written page to Mishanuko, listen, family Dakana Okuleta H2 in Zambia. But yet, better condition saying that the president was HH. So for these people that are talking, let's just be sincere. What is so difficult for the president, and not just to come out and say, I'll not be there. So the question over being is that niche president HH touching Shamanat, okay, it is fine, I'll let go of this just for peace and for people to bury in Zambia. They should ask the president and say, Nish Ale Kanina, why is he refusing not just to let go of everything and for peace to prevail?
Wandalunda, please conclude your comment, please. Please go ahead and conclude.
So, Makebi, you are a good person, and just work with Namundubile. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your call there. Let's pick up another one before we allow Mr. Zulu to respond. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, thanks. How are you?
megawatt next year and other energy mix. Is that not a good leadership?
Okay, Wachinyama, thank you. Thank you for your call.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your call. Well, it looks like the story to do with the body of the former president keeps popping up.
I would not deal with that. I would not do that.
You don't want to address that?
No,
that issue.
I will not address that issue for the very simple reason that to do so is to be pulled in a debate that is unnecessary for this program. And I'm appearing here in my capacity as a politician intended to pursue the politics in the Patriotic Front Party. To delve into this, I will need the clearance from the family to delve into these particular details that he's talking about. The customs that he's talking about are foreign. Are foreign. He didn't say which particular custom he's talking about. But that issue, if you notice, even when Dalunda talked about that, it's not something that I'm going to talk about. He gave his explanation. People have different opinions over this particular issue, but decency would require that even those particular opinions, such as the one that Lukulu voice has, should be parked on the side. We can have that discussion some other time, and we can give the full details some other time. I don't want to get into discussing the mishandling of that particular process on the part of the government. No, I don't want to do that. We're talking about the decency of humanity in Zambia, in this issue of politics. How do we improve the lives of the people? What is going on? You are talking about the issue of power, and this issue of power, you're saying there has been improvement, and the question is, how has it translated to the beneficiation of the Zambians on the ground? Mr. Chinyama has not told us that he's not experiencing load shedding. He is telling us that these solutions are there. How have they translated? He's talking about Mamba collieries. He's talking about solar projects. How have those translated into us having more power? Are we still exporting power at the expense of Zambians? Have we put Zambians first in this power puzzle that we're having? What effect has it had on industry? What effect has it had on the cost of living? And we're saying that it has had a very bad effect on the cost of living, because there's no shop that only Mr. Lukulu goes to or Mr. Chinyama goes to that sells to him at a fairer price because he's a UPND cadre. There's no shop that is for UPND, there's no shop that's for MMD, there's no shop that's for PF. We all go to the same shops, and the cost of living, it is beyond doubt that it has gone up. So the issues that we must be addressing are issues that are verifiable and issues that can translate into a better life for Zambians. That's what we should be dealing with.
Dalunda, he not only talked about that side of the, because he gave that other side.
Yes,
of the,
he gave that
the
other side.
The
other aspect is the issue
to do with Mr. Brian Mundubile. Do you think that is that something you would look into? Would you work with him?
I would tell you that the Patriotic Front Party is a united party. All of us contesting this presidency are not enemies, and we have to work together. We must work together. The aspirations for the presidency should not be an issue for self-ambition and self-ambition only. A combination that is going to win the election is a combination that we should all rally behind. The person that is going to win the next election and provide solutions to the Zambian in concert or with the others is the combination that we have to go for purposes of liberating our country. So yes, we have to work together. We are open to work with everyone, and everyone must work with everyone for purposes of the country. Country first.
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Makebi Zulu is our guest. He is a Patriotic Front presidential aspirant. He's our guest here on the hot seat. My name is Chisha Mwambe. I am your host. It's pick up some more calls for our guests here. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, thank you. What's your name?
You're talking to Mr. Chilonda.
All right, Mr. Chilonda, please go ahead.
Now, you my wife is a former Malambo member of Parliament.
Tiri bwino wa Chilonda muli bwanji?
You know, India, the Democratic Party, was the one who brought the democracy to Dr. Zulu and the Quran. So now, you can compare all 15 who understand. I saw you understand that that is Baruch. So you are fine. So for us, what we are doing, that's only one who comes to go through. That's a democracy. And you stop that.
Sorry, do you have a question?
The question is that I want two questions. You are there. One, what is the put of education?
Well, that issue has already been talked about. Do you have another question?
Secondly, what is stand at your case candidate? What do you want to do? When you say what I can.
Thank you for your call. Questions to do with the body have already been asked. It's already been dealt with. So let's look at other issues here. Give us a call 0974 870 877. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. What's your name?
My name is before question. I didn't know that you are teaching. I know that you are coach.
Right. Yes.
That you are teaching.
Yes, sir.
My question is just, I would like to, what's your comment on those lapses, what happened in Chuampala, in Chungola, especially on 2016, when it comes to police, because like the police are very good when it comes to arresting opposition in this. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your call. 0974 870 877. Call us now. What's your contribution? What's your question or contribution? Feel free to give us a call now. We'd love to hear from you. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's your name?
Mr. Kirezu.
Charles, please go ahead.
Yeah, from Livingston.
Oh, lovely. What's your contribution or question?
Yeah, my contribution here is what Makebi is saying is just correct. Even though the problem with poor was just capitalism, but otherwise governance was just fine. So there are some issues that no anyone can fail in any of the areas, but otherwise they were just not apart from capitalism. The other issue I want to say, I'm behind there, with the one who people who, that's what I have.
Okay, Charles, thank you for your call. Okay, our first caller said you failed in Malambo.
You see,
Is that a fair statement?
it's a very fair statement. Not necessarily to say I failed in Malambo, but to correct it to say in 2021 I lost an election in Malambo. Not that I failed in Malambo, because Malambo now has a district hospital. Malambo now has a mini hospital. Malambo has quite a lot of things. We've got health posts. We built schools in Malambo. The very schools that UPND was able to employ teachers in are the schools that we built for purposes of creating employment, which employment was created by PF. Otherwise, if we hadn't created that employment, the UPND would not have been able to hire the teachers to go and occupy and teach those children in those schools. So we did not, I did not, or we did not fail.
If you did very well,
Yes.
why do you think you were voted out?
It was time. It was time. See, the issue is perception of a governing regime tends to affect what goes on out there. And right now, you would be lucky, or UPND would be lucky, if they won a seat in Lusaka. Because the perception is that UPND has failed. It's not just a perception, but it's also a reality that UPND has failed. So there was a wind of change at that particular time. People thought they needed to change governments. But having changed governments, they have just realized that they were given a raw deal. This has happened in Malawi, where a former president, having lost an election, has come back. He's been voted back in. It is not the first instance that is happening. It has happened elsewhere around the globe in the recent past, where a person who lost an election is brought back. But if a loss is an inhibition to contest elections, President Hakainde Hichilema would not have been president, because he lost elections before, not one, not twice, not even 3 times. He lost elections before, and eventually he was re-elected. So a loss should not be seen as a barrier. When you fall down, you get up again. And that is what you should teach your children, sir. That when you fail, you have to get back up again and get back better. So I'm back, I'm better, I'm stronger. And that's the response I would have to that.
Mr. Simbe talked about what happened out there at Chiwempala, in Chingola, rather. Your comment on that?
See, what happened in Chiwempala is unfortunate. And what is worse is the response by the government. And I did allude to that in my other interview. That Chiwempala should show the government what the state of the country is. When you bottle people up by the so-called cybersecurity, and they're not able to express themselves and say what they have to say when they're disgruntled, they have no other way of expressing themselves. But the only legitimate way that we have to express ourselves is obviously through voting. I would condemn in the strongest of terms the issue of throwing stones at a president. That should not be tolerated anywhere. I wouldn't wish it even on my worst enemy. We need to find ways of resolving our issues and resolving them amicably. The issue of Chiwempala circles around the livelihood of the people of Chiwempala. The issue of Senseli mine, the issue of the dam sites in Chingola. These aspects that the people of Chiwempala were deriving or making a living from is what has affected them. And this is a protest that the government is aware of. The government is aware because the president himself, or whoever is managing his page, did acknowledge that what was the issue was the question of Senseli and the dam site that was there, and that they would address those issues. So the next time he appeared, what I expected was that he was probably going to expand on that posting to tell the people of Chiwempala, to tell the people of Chingola how those issues would be dealt with. Not to incite violence against the perpetrators of that stoning. It was going to be prudent and decent of the president to say, listen, whereas those that did that thing, the law would take its course. Us, or we as government, are going to put up these measures to respond to the economic needs of the people in Chiwempala. This is what we are committed to do, and this is what we are going to do. For Mali Teta to say, we will send 15,000 cadres into the Copper Belt or into Chingola to go and deal with those. What are you saying?
We actually said they wanted to do that. He didn't say they were going to send them there.
Well, if they said they wanted to do that, that is a desire to deal with an unlawful act by another unlawful act. The president was talking about the issue of, well, this issue, I stopped you from beating people, now vaya sana. It's like it is dependent on the goodwill of the president that his cadres or his members are not resorting to violence. They are not resorting to violence because it is illegal to do so. And we must emphasize on that. And it is for that reason that
Wouldn't
we
you say there's political will for those people not to behave
it is
the way they would have?
it is not a
if
question.
no one told them anything to do.
It is not a favor that they're not doing that. It is law that they should not do that.
You think the president of that party would have a hold on his people to not behave in an unlawful
He doesn't
manner?
even need to have a hold on his people. All that we need to emphasize is that we've got laws that govern the way we conduct ourselves. We've got laws that's why I'm saying that it has become apparent that we are dependent on the whims and caprices of men and not the rule of law. The rule of law is that we must all be subject to the same law in equal measure for everyone. There's no law for people that are part of the UPND and law that is not for people that are part of the UPND. We must implement the law. But then there are systemic issues of bread and butter that needs to be dealt with. There may be particular or general, and in this case, the issues of Chingola. How are we dealing with the issues of Chingola? How are we dealing with the issues that are going on the copper belt? The issues of supplying to the mines. Have we selected a few cadres to be the only ones to supply to the mines and be the ones to benefit? Is it that others are are less of Zambians and cannot participate in the economy of the copper belt? Those are the issues that we must be dealing with. How are we presenting equal opportunities to everyone? That is the issue that has to be dealt with on the copper belt, and that is the cry of the people on the copper belt. Okay. How should we benefit from our resources?
We're coming to a close now. We have an extra person here from the Patriotic Front, Madam Mumbi Piri, requested to speak. What do you have for us this morning, ma'am?
Thank you so much for letting me speak today. Once again, it's on this radio station where I pronounced the Plan B. I was the first one to talk about Plan B. And let me take this opportunity, being the birthday for our late president, let's wish him his heavenly birthday. Today, the 11th of November. And I'm here to endorse. I've said to everybody that when the time is right, I will endorse the right person. I'm actually endorsing Council Makebi Zulu as my presidential candidate for 2026. Mr. President, I'm so confident that you're going to win the election. The first thing which you should do when you get into power, I will talk to your madam. There is the biggest hospital in Chalala, which was donated by the king from Saudi Arabia. Please make sure that that project is completed. The second one is the project you talked about yourself, the nuclear energy, which is in my backyard in Chongwe. That was a donation from the people of Russia. Please make a follow-up so that the power deficit which we are facing at least can be reduced. And as I conclude talking to you as my incoming president, do you know that karma is real? You talked about the Chingola incidents, and you didn't even want to talk about it so much. Remember that President Hakainde Hichilema, who is my own son-in-law, blocked Eddie Galunga, and this is one thing even the journalists don't want to talk about. He set a precedence. Yes, he was arrested. He went to prison at maximum. And he came out after 129 days. I'm one of those women, the only woman in Zambia, a politician, who was saved 429 days. What do people call that? It's revenge. The only people who have passed my incarceration is Benarizwani, those youths from Petauke. They have saved 515 days.
Madam Piri, are you
incarceration.
You're happy with what happened in Chiwempana?
I'm not happy, but
karma
is real. And that's why I'm looking at you in your eyes, so that you know when you do wrong things, it will come back to you. And you know why those boys even have courage? I've been listening that to some people who are saying they should be charged for treason. Are they going to be scared? No, because our own president, Hakainde Hichilema, is ruling when he was arrested on treason. Those boys know that even if they arrest you on treason, you still come out. Is an example of that. He is ruling this country on what? On an ole.
Okay.
Which
We need
gives
to come to a
people
close now.
confidence.
You wanted
So
to-
do the real thing, and may God bless you. And I know you're a God-fearing person. Don't put God in an inverted commas. Don't make people start questioning God because of you. It will be wrong. Do the real thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us, being our guest today.
Thanks for having me, Tisha.
It's been a pleasure. All right, this has been the Hot Seat here on Hot 87.7. Our guest has been Mr. Makebi Zulu, who is a Patriotic Front presidential aspirant. If you've been listening to us on our sister station, Kwitu FM 93.3, good morning to you. Also, if you're tuned in on Kanele FM 97.7 in Lundazi, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Also, if you joined us via the Hot FM Zambia Facebook page, good morning to you, and thank you so much for the comments that you've been leaving on our post there. I've been your host, Shisha Mwambe. Stay tuned to Hot 87.7. Look out for the next edition of the Hot Seat coming to you on Thursday with my colleague, Peter Zulu.
The station that speaks your mind. No filters, no fakes, just profile with top 10 presenters. Hot FM at 20. The heat is on.